I was sorting through a stack of court reports when the phone rang. The sound cut through the quiet kitchen like a blade. The clock on the stove said 7:14 a.m. That is not a normal hour for anyone to call me, not even my daughter, not even clients who forget basic boundaries. I wiped my hands on a dish towel and answered, "Sam, I need you to come to my studio. Alone." It was Carol. "Carol, what happened?" I asked. I kept my voice calm, but my pulse rose. Something in her tone pressed cold fingers against my spine. I found something wrong in the wedding photos. Something very wrong. She inhaled sharply. "Please come now and do not bring anyone, not even Lydia." The call ended before I could reply. I stood in my kitchen holding the phone like a weight. Morning light filtered through the blinds in thin golden strips. Dust floated in the air, turning slow circles. My breakfast sat untouched on the counter. My house was quiet, but my mind was not. I am a forensic document examiner. I see the truth in places people forget to look. Ink strokes reveal intention. Signatures reveal ego. Metadata reveals lies. So when someone says they found something wrong in a photograph, my mind begins working before my body moves. I drove with both hands tight on the wheel. Every stoplight felt too long. Every street felt too slow. At 7:32 a.m., I parked in front of Carol's studio. Her car was the only one in the lot. A small silver Subaru with a dented trunk. A car that looked like her. Practical, reliable, unswayed by life's chaos. She opened the door before I could knock. Her gray hair was pulled into a loose bun and her glasses sat crooked. That alone told me something was deeply wrong. "Come in," she said. She locked the door behind me and lowered the blinds. The room dimmed to a soft amber glow. Carol walked to her desk and opened her laptop. The light from the screen illuminated her face. Her jaw was clenched tight. She swallowed hard. "I need you to stay calm," she said. "I know your work. I know your mind. You will see what I saw." She clicked on a folder labeled Hargrove Wedding. My daughter's name felt heavy in the room. Lydia, 28 years old, warm heart, soft voice, too forgiving, married 2 weeks ago to a man she believed would honor her, a man I was never sure about. Carol opened a wide shot of Lydia and Alex standing near the glass doors of the reception hall. In the main frame, they looked perfect. Lydia's smile was wide, her eyes bright. Alex's hand rested on her waist, elegant and rehearsed. The lighting was warm. The moment felt sincere. Then Carol clicked the zoom tool. She zoomed into the upper left corner. The image sharpened in slow increments. The glass door behind them reflected a portion of the room. A reflection so faint you would miss it with untrained eyes. But I did not miss it. My eyes locked on the shape of a man standing too close behind the door. Only a shoulder part of a jawline and a ringed hand were visible. I leaned closer to the screen. The ring was unmistakable. A thick silver band with a narrow ridge down the center. A model from a company in Denver known for custom orders. A model I had only seen once before. Alex owned that ring. Yet the man in the reflection was not Alex. The jawline was different. The posture was different. The suit sleeve had a darker cuff. Everything was wrong. "Who is that?" I whispered. Carol shook her head. Her hands trembled again. "I do not know, but I know what the timestamp says." She clicked on the metadata panel. The lines of information appeared: date, location, device, shutter speed, and time. The photo was taken at 2:08 p.m., 2 hours before the ceremony. My breath left me in one controlled exhale. A slow twist formed low in my gut, the kind that warns you before your mind catches up. My hands rested on the desk to steady myself. Carol turned to me. Her voice dropped to a near whisper. "Sam, the man in this reflection is not your daughter's husband, and he should not have been there with her." My chest pressed inward. An old instinct rose in me like a slow-moving tide, cold and deliberate. A feeling I thought I had buried the day my husband died. The instinct that warns you when something precious is at risk. I looked at the photo again. My heartbeat sounded like footsteps inside my chest, measured, loud, intent. "Carol, show me the next file," I said. My voice surprised me. It was steadier than I felt. Carol blinked. There were more reflections, more moments, more angles. She hesitated for a long second. Her fingers hovered above the trackpad. Then she said the sentence that shattered my morning. "Sam, the timestamp on this image is 2 hours before the wedding, and the man in the frame is not the groom." I stood frozen. My vision narrowed to a single point. The screen glowed in front of me, quiet and merciless. The studio felt colder. The air felt thinner. My hands pressed harder against the desk, and in that exact moment, a single thought sank into me with the weight of a stone. If that man was not Alex, then my daughter was not safe. The drive home felt heavier than usual. My hands gripped the wheel with a pressure I rarely used. The reflection in that wedding photo kept flashing in my mind like a warning light. A man with a familiar ring, a man who was not Alex, a man standing 2 hours before the ceremony where he should not have been. I unlocked my front door and walked straight to my office. My house was quiet, the kind of quiet that presses against your ears. I powered on my work computer and pulled up my forensic software, the same tools I used for lawyers and insurance firms, tools that found lies in pixels and fingerprints in code. The wedding folder from Carol sat on my desktop like a sealed truth. I clicked it open and zoomed in on the first image, then the second, then the third. Each one showed a detail that pulled my stomach tight. The reflection angle, the distance of the shadow, that glint of matching metal kept surfacing in every frame, insistent and impossible to ignore. My forensic instinct kicked in. I checked the metadata one line at a time. Timestamp lens, data exposure values, embedded GPS. Nothing looked tampered with. No mismatched entries, no cloned pixels. Everything was consistent, yet something still felt incomplete. I needed deeper analysis, deeper than my tools could provide. I stared at the screen, then reached for my phone. There was only one lab I trusted with advanced recovery, DataCore Imaging, run by a man who charged like he hated discounts. I called anyway. "DataCore, this is Victor speaking." "Victor, it's Sam." A pause. I heard the faint click of recognition. Well, if you are calling at this hour, it must be serious." "It is," I said. "I need a full metadata integrity scan and image reconstruction. Wedding photos." Victor groaned. "You bring me crime scenes, forged wills, corrupted evidence. And today you bring me a groom with cold feet, Victor." He sighed. "Fine, send them over. I will run the baseline scan today." His baseline fee alone was 4 figures. The advanced reconstruction usually cost even more. But I wired the payment without blinking. He emailed the invoice 15 minutes later, $14,500. I paid it. The transfer cleared. The number stung for a moment, then vanished behind the urgency pulling at me. While the files uploaded, I opened my blinds. Morning light crept across my office floor. A slow, cautious movement, like a truth deciding whether to reveal itself. My phone vibrated. Marcus calling. Of course. Detective Marcus Hayes had been my friend since college. He liked to remind me that I saw the world through magnified pixels. He also liked to laugh at my expense. I answered. "Morning, Sam. You alive in there, barely. You sound tense. Something happened." I hesitated. He was the only person besides Carol I trusted, so I told him about the reflection, the ring, the timestamp, the fact that Carol had asked me to come alone. Marcus listened without interrupting. That was unusual enough. Finally he said, "Sam, with those forensic eyes of yours, I swear no wedding photo will ever get away." Despite everything, I let out a short laugh. He continued, "What do you think it is? A secret brother? A jealous cousin? A drunk guest? No." My tone changed. This man knew he should not be there. Marcus fell silent, then asked the question that hit deeper than he knew. "Sam, you think your daughter is in danger?" I swallowed. My throat felt thick. I think someone close to the wedding lied, and lies like that do not stay small. We hung up after he promised to stop by later. I turned back to my computer. Victor's progress bar crept forward 1% at a time. Each percent felt like a heartbeat. At 11:03 a.m., the results arrived. A message from Victor, short, unnervingly short. Preliminary findings confirm authenticity. Timestamp verified. Subject in reflection present at 1:31 p.m. at alternate location. Not registered groom. See attached coordinates. Alternate location. Separate from the wedding venue. An hour and 20 minutes before the reflection image. I opened the attached coordinates on a map. A private parking lot behind a furniture outlet. A place people used when they did not want to be seen. My fingers stiffened around the mouse. I zoomed in on the reconstructed image. Victor had brought back every lost pixel, every shadow, every glint of metal. Alex's wedding ring was worn on the right hand. The man in the reflection wore his on the left. But the design was identical. Why would a stranger wear a ring that matches my son-in-law's? My voice echoed in the office, thin, dry. I replayed the detail in slow motion. The angle, the knuckles, the way his hand rested on the door. Casual, too casual. Whoever he was, he felt entitled to be near my daughter, before her wedding, behind closed doors, wearing a ring that mirrored her husband's. A chill spread along my spine. The air around the image shifted. It carried the kind of tension that doesn't belong at a wedding, the kind that signals a plan already in motion. This was something else, something engineered, something that had a purpose. I closed the files and stood. My legs felt stiff, like they belonged to someone older. I walked to the kitchen for water. Scenes flickered behind my eyes faster than my steps could follow while my feet carried me on autopilot. At 12:17 p.m., my phone chimed. Carol. A new message. Just one line. Sam. I found something else. I think you need to see who that woman is. Sending folder now. My chest tightened as a download bubble appeared. The file name was simple. Almost too simple. Unknown female. Identified. The bubble filled slowly. My pulse kept pace with it. When it hit 100%, I clicked. Before the folder opened, one thought formed like a hard knot in my mind. Whoever she was connected to my daughter, and to the man with the matching ring. The first image loaded, and in that moment, the room felt colder than any morning I could remember. The folder opened with a soft click. The sound felt louder than it should. Inside were 6 images and one short PDF. I clicked the first image. The photo loaded slowly, almost cautiously, as if it understood what it was about to reveal. There she was, a woman in a fitted red dress the color of fresh cuts, pearl necklace resting neatly against her collarbone, hair styled in soft, deliberate waves. She was standing too close to Alex, closer than any guest should stand to a married man at his own reception. Her body angled toward him, his shoulders angled toward her. Their heads leaned in, not quite touching, but near enough to feel each other's breath. If you glanced quickly, you would think they were just talking. If you stared longer, you saw something else. I zoomed in on her face. High cheekbones, careful makeup, a small practiced smile. The kind of smile people wear when they are negotiating, not celebrating. In the background, Lydia's dress was visible, a blur of white and lace, out of focus. She was laughing with her friends while this woman stood here with her husband. A sharp pressure gathered beneath my ribs, as if the room had lost a fraction of its air. I moved my cursor to the tiny text at the bottom of the image. Image number file code time. 10:47 p.m., 3 hours after the vows. The crowd had thinned by then. Only the closest guests and the most persistent drinkers remained. The woman in red was not in any of the family photos, not in the bridal party shots, not in the rehearsal dinner images, yet here she was, near my son-in-law, with her hand resting lightly on his forearm. I opened the second image. Same woman, same dress, same pearls, different angle, different moment. This time Alex was laughing. His head tilted back, his shoulders relaxed. Her eyes were locked on his mouth, not his eyes. Something in me flared, not jealousy, not moral outrage, something colder. Recognition. I leaned even closer to the screen. There was something about her nose, the way it curved at the bridge, the sharpness at the tip. I had seen that nose, that jawline, that careful smile. Not in person, in a file. I closed the image folder and clicked on the PDF. Carol had titled it simply, Possible ID. The document opened to a screenshot of a news article. The headline was blunt and ugly. Houston financial advisor Hannah Reed indicted in multi-million-dollar fraud scheme. My stomach dropped. I felt the air thicken. I scrolled. There she was again. Same cheekbones, same eyes, no red dress this time, just an orange jumpsuit in a grainy courtroom photo. Hannah Reed, 32 years old, accused of helping run a fraudulent investment program targeting retirees. I had worked on that case, not directly with her, but with the documents she helped create. I had testified about forged signatures and altered contracts. I remembered the judge's tired face, the way he said the phrase calculated deception. I remembered the victims sitting in the gallery, shoulders bent like broken branches. Now that same woman stood in a red dress beside my daughter's husband. My heart pounded against my ribs. Heat rose along my neck. I scrolled further down. Carol had attached a short note at the bottom. Her handwriting converted to text. Sam facial recognition suggests a strong match to Hannah Reed from the Houston case. I am not a forensic analyst, but the similarity is alarming. I let my hand fall from the mouse. It landed on the desk with a dull tap. I stared at the image of Hannah in court, then back to the red dress. Same smirk, same tilt of the head. Lydia's wedding day suddenly looked like a crime scene. I stood and walked to the window. Outside, the neighborhood looked painfully normal. A dog walker passed by, a sprinkler clicked across a lawn. My reflection stared back at me in the glass. A 58-year-old woman with tired eyes and a mind that refused to ignore evidence. I remembered Lydia telling me about Alex's job. Mom, he does advisory work. Not exactly a banker, more like guidance for wealthy clients. I had asked a simple question. Does he have licenses? She had laughed. You and your paperwork. Of course he does. At the time, I let it go. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe him. Now staring at Hannah Reed in that red dress belief felt like a luxury I could not afford. I sat back down and opened my own database. Old cases archived in neat folders, names and numbers lined up like ghosts. I searched for Reed Hannah and found the Houston file. Contracts scanned into high resolution, emails preserved as evidence, handwritten notes from my own testimony. I clicked on one of the exhibits. A contract for a guaranteed retirement product. Her signature sat in the corner, neat, controlled, elegant. The same elegant woman now stood in red beside my daughter's husband. My fingers tapped against the desk. A slow, steady rhythm. If Alex knew her, then Lydia's marriage was not just unstable, it was dangerous. If Alex worked with her, his income was not clean. If his income was not clean, then his promises were not either. Forensic logic rarely comforts you. It only strips away comforting lies. I printed the news article and the red dress photo, laid them side by side on my desk. Two versions of the same woman, one in chains, one in pearls. I pinned them together with a paper clip. Evidence. Not feelings. Evidence. My phone buzzed on the desk. I ignored it at first, my eyes still on the images. Then it buzzed again. Marcus. Text message. Checking in. How bad is it? I snapped a quick photo of the printed pages and sent it to him. His reply came 15 seconds later. You have got to be kidding. That is Hannah Reed. Sam. What did your daughter marry? Into a bitter smile touched my lips. Good question, I typed back. I am starting to think the answer is trouble. He responded with a single line. Want me to run a quiet check on Alex? I stared at the screen. My thumbs hovered above the keyboard. Legally, Lydia's husband was not my client, not my case. Emotionally, he was standing between my daughter and safety. Yes. Quietly, I replied. Focus on financials and any Texas connections. On it, Marcus wrote. Try not to tear the house down before I call. A small, humorless laugh escaped my throat. He knew me too well. I set the phone down and looked at the photos again. Every inch of my training screamed that this was not a coincidence. Fraudsters rarely vanish. They migrate. Had Alex followed her into this world, or had she followed him? I thought of Lydia's face on the wedding day, how she glowed when she said I do, how she hugged me and whispered, Mom, I finally feel safe. The word safe now felt like a cruel joke. A wave of grief rolled through me, not for the past, for the future she thought she had, the life she believed she was starting. I closed my eyes and pressed my fingertips against them. I let myself feel the pain for a few seconds, just a few. Then I opened my eyes again. Feelings were allowed, but facts had to lead. I gathered the printed pages and slid them into a manila folder. I wrote one word on the tab, read. I placed the folder beside my laptop, close enough to reach, far enough to study later. I needed air. I walked to the kitchen and filled a glass with water, drank slowly, counted my breaths. 1, 2, 3. Steady, controlled. The kind of breathing I used in court when opposing counsel tried to rattle me. I had testified against Hannah Reed's schemes in Texas. Now her shadow stood in my daughter's wedding album. The question formed itself before I could stop it. Did Lydia marry into a love story or into a long-running con? My phone buzzed again, this time with a different tone. A new message, not from Marcus. I picked it up, checked the screen. The sender's name made my heart knock harder against my ribs. Alex. The message was short, too short, the kind of short that signals trouble. Sam, I need to talk to you tonight, at your house. Please do not tell Lydia. I read it twice, then a third time. My grip tightened around the phone. Whatever he wanted, it was not simple. Men like that do not request secret meetings with their wife's mother for nothing. I looked at the red dress on my screen, at Hannah's face frozen beside him, then back at his message. Tonight I would hear what he had to say, but for the first time since the wedding, I knew one thing clearly. I would not be walking into that conversation as a mother-in-law. I would be walking in as a forensic examiner, and Alex Miller was about to become my favorite kind of subject. When a man who might be lying to your daughter asks to meet alone, you do not serve him takeout. You serve controlled. I roasted chicken because it made the house smell safe. Garlic, lemon, rosemary. Comfort layered over suspicion. On the table, I set 2 plates, 2 glasses, and nothing else. The folder labeled Reed stayed in my office. The photos of the red dress stayed in my mind. I did not need to bring them out yet. At 6:58 p.m., my doorbell rang. He said tonight. Of course he arrived 2 minutes early. Control likes to pretend it is polite. I opened the door. Alex stood on the porch in a navy shirt and dark jeans. Casual but calculated. He held a bottle of wine like a peace offering. Hi, Sam, he said. His smile was almost perfect. Almost. Come in, I replied. My voice sounded flat, even to me. He stepped inside and glanced around the living room. His eyes moved quickly over the photos, the furniture, the shelves. Assessment. I knew that look. Thank you for seeing me, he said. Lydia is at a late meeting, so we have some privacy. He volunteered that too fast. I filed it away. I figured you wanted it that way, I said. Dinner is ready. We sat at the table. He placed the wine between us like a prop. I did not open it. You are not having any, he asked. Not tonight, I said. I like my mind clear. He laughed softly, but his eyes flickered. For a minute or two, we ate in silence. He cut his chicken in small, precise bites. I watched his hands. They were steady, but his shoulders were not. Sam, he began, I want to talk about something before you hear it from anyone else. That sounds serious, I said. I kept my fork moving so he would think this was normal. He exhaled slowly. I know you have been looking at the wedding photos again. He said it like a harmless hobby. You do, I replied. My voice stayed calm. My pulse did not. Carol told me you stopped by, he continued. She was worried you might misinterpret a few angles. Glass does weird things with reflections. He smiled again. Too casual now. Reflections, I repeated. Is that what we are calling people now? He gave a small, strained chuckle. Look, the camera picks up random guests in the background. It is not a big deal. Random guests, I said. I let the words sit. Like a convicted financial fraudster from Houston, for example, his fork froze halfway to his mouth. For the first time, something real moved across his face. I have no idea what you were talking about, he said. Too fast. You sure I asked? Because my software and the Texas Attorney General seem very familiar with her. My tone did not rise. Calm is more dangerous than shouting. He swallowed, then smiled again. The smile did not reach his eyes. I think you are reading too much into things. Wedding photos can be misleading. Good news for you, I said. I do not rely on photos alone. I rely on metadata. He shifted in his chair. Beads of sweat appeared at his hairline. He dabbed them with his napkin. I do this for a living, Alex, I continued. I know when an image has been altered. Those photos have not been. He reached for his glass. His fingers trembled slightly as he lifted it. Why are you digging into this? He asked. She is your daughter. She just got married. Maybe let her be happy. There it was, the guilt knife. Happy built on fraud is not happiness, I said. It is just delay. He looked at me, really looked, then. His smile vanished. What exactly do you think you know? He asked. The friendly son-in-law tone was gone. I know the woman in the red dress is Hannah Reed, I said. I know she was indicted for running a fraudulent investment scheme. I cut another piece of chicken. I did not eat it. My question is simple. What was she doing at my daughter's wedding? He stared at me in silence, fork still in his hand, jaw tight. Finally, he laughed. It sounded hollow. Maybe someone invited her, he said. I do not screen every guest. It was a big event. Not that big, I replied. And facial recognition does not lie. Neither does conviction history. He shifted again. His chair scraped softly against the floor. My firm works with a lot of people, he said. I meet clients' acquaintances all the time. So she is just another acquaintance, I asked. One whose cases I testified in. His head snapped up. You what I testified on her documents, I said. In Texas, 2 years ago. He blinked. Small world, he muttered. Not that small, I replied. For a few seconds, we just stared at each other. My dining room felt like an interview room. Same silence, same scattered breathing. I set my fork down and leaned back slightly. Tell me something, I said. Where was your wedding ring that night? He frowned. What your ring? I repeated. The night of the wedding. Where was it at 2:08 p.m.? He opened his mouth, then closed it. On my hand, obviously, he said. And if I check every image I asked. He shrugged. Maybe I took it off once or twice. Photographers have opinions. Carol said something about glare. Funny, I said, because the man in the reflection wears the same design on the opposite hand. I let that hang. Then I added casually, so I will ask more simply. Where is your wedding ring now? He picked up his spoon to scoop some potatoes. My question landed before the food did. Where is your wedding ring, Alex? The spoon slipped from his hand and clattered against the plate. Mashed potatoes splattered on the tablecloth. He jolted. I must have left it at home, he stammered. Sometimes I take it off when I work. Sensitive clients. The excuse arrived, but late. Too late. I stared at the spoon resting in the food. For a brief second, the absurdity almost made me laugh. A nervous man dropping cutlery under pressure. If it were not my daughter's life, it would be a sitcom. Instead, it was dark comedy, the kind you do not enjoy. It is interesting, I said softly, how often people misplace symbols of commitment. He shifted again. "Why are you treating me like a suspect?" he snapped. "I am your son-in-law." "You are a man connected to a known fraudster," I replied. "Married to a woman I love more than my own comfort." He stared at me, throat working, sweat now visible along his jaw. He wiped it again with his napkin. "You think I am hurting Lydia?" he asked. His voice cracked slightly. "I think you are hiding something that will hurt her," I answered. "I would like to be wrong." He looked away. His leg bounced under the table. I could hear the rhythm. "Listen," he said finally. "There are parts of my work you would not understand. Offshore clients, risk management, gray areas. Fraud," I said. "The grown-up word is fraud." His head snapped back toward me. "You cannot accuse me of that," he said. "You have no proof." "Not yet," I answered. "And if you were clean, you would welcome a review." He pushed his chair back suddenly. The motion jolted the table. The glasses rattled. "I did not come here to be attacked," he said. "I came here as family. Family does not bring con artists to the head table," I replied. "Family does not ask for secret meetings without their wife." His jaw clenched. For a moment, I thought he might shout. Instead, he exhaled sharply and looked at the floor. "I needed to talk to you because Lydia trusts you," he said, "and she would not listen if it comes from me alone." "Listen to what I asked." He hesitated. "There is a deal," he said, "an opportunity. If it goes right, Lydia and I will be set." My stomach turned. I knew that language. So did every victim I had ever met. And if it goes wrong, I asked. He did not answer. "Does it involve Hannah Reid?" I asked. Silence. His gaze flicked to the front door, then to the hallway, then back to me. "Flight meat cage. I think I should go," he said. "We can talk another time. When you are calmer." "I am very calm," I said. "That is the problem for you." He stood anyway. His chair scraped back sharply. He wiped his hands on his pants as if he could remove the conversation from his skin. "Tell Lydia I stopped by," he said. "Tell her I love her." "If you love her," I replied, "do not drag her into crimes you are not smart enough to cover." He flinched. For a second, rage flashed across his face. Then it vanished, replaced with something like calculation. "I will be in touch," he said, and walked toward the door. I watched him leave. I did not follow. I waited for the door to close, listened to his car start, headlights sweep past my window and disappear. The house went quiet again. The smell of garlic and lemon felt heavier now. I sat for a moment, letting my pulse slow. Then I stood and began clearing the table. One plate, one glass, his fork, the traitor spoon. When I moved his chair back to its original position, my foot hit something, a small, stiff corner, paper. I frowned and crouched down. Under his chair, half tucked against the leg, was a plain white envelope. No name on the front, just a smudge where a thumb had pressed too hard. I picked it up. It was heavier than a simple note. The flap was not sealed all the way. I told myself I should not open it. Then I remembered my daughter's face in her wedding dress. I opened it. Inside was a single folded document. Transfer confirmation from a bank I recognized. Amount $28,000. Sender Alex Miller. Recipient Hannah Reid. My hand tightened around the paper. The numbers blurred for a second, then snapped back into focus. So the woman in the red dress was not just a guest. She was on his payroll, and my daughter was married to a man who sent $28,000 to a felon behind her back. The morning after that dinner, I woke up before my alarm. My body felt heavy. My mind felt sharp. The envelope with the transfer sat on my nightstand. $28,000. Alex to Hannah Reid. Proof that something ugly moved beneath the surface. I made coffee strong and dark. Steam rose from the mug. My kitchen smelled like a small act of resistance. I snapped a photo of the transfer confirmation with my phone. Then I texted Marcus. "Need you at the wedding restaurant terrace. Today, no uniforms. Bring your eyes, not your badge. He responded 2 minutes later. You buying coffee or am I? I answered. I am paying. You are suffering. 1 hour later, we met in the parking lot behind the restaurant, the same building where Lydia had cut her cake, where I had given a speech about trust. Marcus leaned against his unmarked car, sipping something overpriced. He wore jeans, a faded department t-shirt, and that tired detective look. You know, he said pushing off the car most moms cope by making photo albums. You stage crime scenes. Old habits, I said. Ready to walk through a bad memory. Lead the way, he replied. We went through the side entrance Carol had described. The manager recognized me, frowned, then forced a smile. Back again, Miss Taylor, he asked. Thinking about booking another event. Something like that, I said. Just need 10 minutes on the terrace. He hesitated, then nodded. Grief and money make people polite. The terrace looked smaller without the wedding decorations. No string lights, no flowers, just metal railings and square tables. The late afternoon sun hit the glass doors at a familiar angle. I pulled up the photo on my phone, the one with the reflection. Alex, the ring. The suggestion of a woman standing too close. Here, I said, pointing. Carol shot this through that door. We walked to the exact spot. Marcus stood where she had stood. I traced her angle using the lines in the floor tiles. Hold your phone up, he said. Same height, same distance from the glass. I did. The screen filled with a layered image, the terrace, the courtyard, my own faint reflection. He stepped closer until he was just to my side. Our reflections overlapped on the glass. Now imagine this is Alex, I said. 2 hours before the ceremony. Hannah in the red dress stands here. I placed my hand where hers had been in the photo, against an invisible chest, too intimate for casual talk. Marcus watched the reflection. His eyes moved from the glass to my phone, back and forth. He is not just standing there, Marcus said. He is shielding her from the room. Shielding, I repeated. It fit. He shifted his weight slightly, 1 step closer. Our reflected shoulders touched. See this, he said. His body cuts her from anyone walking by. He blocks the line of sight from the main room. That is how Carol only caught them in the glass, I said. Not in direct shots. Exactly, he replied. If you want privacy in a public place, you use bodies as walls. He stepped away, paced once across the stone floor. Then he came back and pointed to the narrow gap near the rail. Where was the gift table again, he asked. In the inner room, I said. I remembered the heat of the candles, the smell of flowers. The cards were near that far wall. He squinted mentally, mapping the layout. Then this spot is perfect, he said. Close enough to move in and out, far enough not to draw attention. He placed his hand near the area where the reflection showed the ring. Some cheaters stand close because they are stupid, he said. Others stand close because they are working. Working how I asked. He pretended to take something from an invisible pocket, passed it to an invisible hand. This is not just a romantic secret, he said. This is a transfer point. He is angled to hand something off. A key, I asked. A flash drive. A chip. Could be cash. Marcus said. Could be documents. Could be physical bearer bonds if they are old-fashioned criminals. He straightened up. His voice lost the joke. But he is not just flirting, Marcus added. This is posture I see in surveillance, quick exchange posture. I looked at the glass again. Once you hear it, you cannot unsee it. In the reflection, Alex's arm is slightly bent, hand at mid-level, fingers not fully relaxed. See the fingers, Marcus asked. That is not a resting hand. That is a hand about to release something. My throat tightened. I thought about the $28,000 to Hannah, about the timing, about the ring on the wrong hand. Do you think he was paying her off? I asked. Settling old business from Texas. Marcus shook his head. Too sloppy for a payoff, he said. This looks like an active pipeline, not a goodbye payment. The word pipeline sat heavy in my chest. A breeze moved across the terrace. Somewhere behind us, a door opened to the street. Noise spilled out. Soft piano notes floated from the cafe across the courtyard, a familiar progression, gentle, bittersweet. I knew this song. Autumn Letter. For a second, the terrace fell away. I was back in a small living room 20 years earlier. My husband Daniel sat on the floor lacing Lydia's sneakers. That same song played low from a radio on the counter. He always put it on when the weather turned, said it made him feel awake to change. I remembered Lydia's tiny hands on his shoulders, her giggle as he tied the laces into double knots. What do you see? Daniel had asked her that day. He had pointed to the fogged window. Outside, the old maple tree swayed in the wind. The big tree was shaking, Lydia had said. That's all. Daniel had smiled and tapped her chest gently. Not just that, he said. You have to trust what you see, but you also have to ask why you're seeing it. Back on the terrace, my eyes stung. The piano notes of Autumn Letter tugged that memory forward, anchored it to now. Daniel was gone. Lydia was grown, but his rule remained. Trust what you see, then dig until you know why. I blinked and looked at Marcus. He had noticed the shift. You okay? He asked. That song, I said. Daniel loved it. He used to say it sounded like honesty. Pretty, but not always comfortable. Marcus nodded once. I did not know that about him, he said. But it fits. He looked back toward the glass. So we have a convicted fraudster, he said. A shady terrace meeting, a suspicious transfer to the same woman, and a son-in-law who sweats under simple questions. You forgot one thing I said, my daughter in the middle of all of it. He was quiet for a moment. Do you want my professional advice or my friend advice, he asked. Both, I said. As your friend, he said, I think you should tell Lydia everything and get her out. And as a detective, I asked. He exhaled slowly. As a detective, I think we should wait 48 hours, he said. Let me see what is already in motion. If we hit this wrong, we spook people we should be watching. I am not interested in his comfort, I said. I am interested in her safety. You hired me for my brain, not my bedside manner, he replied. You can save her and still help nail the bigger thing. I hated that he was probably right. We walked the length of the terrace again. He took photos from different angles, measured distances with his pace. Send me everything you have, he said. Transfer metadata your notes. I will route it through the financial crimes guys quietly. He slid his phone back into his pocket as it began to vibrate. Speak of the devil, he muttered. He checked the screen. The joking tone left his face. Who is that? I asked. Hold on, he said. His jaw tightened. He stepped a few feet away, but not out of earshot. Yeah, it is Marcus, he said into the phone. I am with her now. What have you got? He listened. His shoulders slowly drew back. His hand found his hip the way it did in interrogation rooms. You are sure? He asked. What unit is running it? The answer came through tinnily. I could not hear the words, but I could hear the weight. He closed his eyes for a second, then opened them again. Yeah, he said softly. She is going to love this. He ended the call and turned toward me. His expression was different now, more careful. Marcus, I asked, what is it? He walked back slowly as if each step added pounds to his answer. Sam, he said. His voice was quiet, clipped. Alex is already on a radar. What kind of radar? I asked. Federal, he replied. Financial crimes. They have an open investigation. I felt my heart hammer against my ribs. Investigation for what I asked. Marcus held my gaze. Money laundering, he said. Your son-in-law is being investigated for money laundering. I drove home with Marcus's words echoing through my head, the kind of echo that sits behind your ribs like a warning. Alex. Money laundering. Federal investigation. My daughter married a man who walked her straight into danger. My house felt colder when I stepped inside. The shadows from the windows stretched long across the floor, thin, sharp lines that looked like fault cracks. I placed my keys down, steadying my breath. I should prepare. I should plan. But Alex messaged 3 minutes later. I'm outside. We talk now. Not a request, a command. the tone of a man who believed he could control every situation he walked into. I opened the door. Alex stood on my porch, eyes wild, shirt wrinkled, breathing fast. He pushed past me without waiting. "Why did you go back to the restaurant?" he asked. His voice shook, not with sadness, but anger. "Why are you digging? Why can't you let things be?" I shut the front door and faced him. "Forensic instinct," I said, "and a mother's instinct. That photo means nothing." He snapped. It was a warped reflection. "Anyone can see that." "Oh," I asked, "and the $28,000 you sent Hannah Reed, was that a reflection too?" He froze. Just a fraction of a second, but enough for me to see the truth push through the cracks in his face. "You looked through my things," he said. "You had no right. You brought danger into my daughter's life," I replied. "I have every right." His jaw clenched. "She doesn't need to know. Lydia will lose everything if this comes out." That sentence, those words, cold, calculated, practiced. I stepped closer. Lose everything? He looked away. He knew he had slipped. He tried to backpedal. She can't handle stress. You know that. She gets overwhelmed. I'm protecting her. "No," I said. "You're controlling her. You're using her. You're keeping her in the dark because lies only survive in the dark." He lunged toward me. Quick. Too quick for a man with calm intentions. "Give me your phone," he said. "You're not calling Marcus. You're not calling anyone." He reached for my pocket. He moved fast, but fear makes people sloppy. He grabbed the wrong side of my jacket. I stepped back. 2 precise steps. My hand stayed firm on my phone. "Son," I said in a voice that surprised even me with its steadiness. "You are not stronger than I am." He blinked. Something shifted in him. Fear. Or realizing for the first time that I was not the quiet mother-in-law he assumed. "Sam," he said, "this is bigger than you. You don't understand the people involved. I understand enough." He grabbed a chair and sank down, burying his face in his hands. His breathing became rough, deep, uneven. "This was never supposed to touch Lydia," he whispered. "She wasn't supposed to get hurt. Then why involve her?" My voice stayed cold, steady. He hesitated. "Money," he finally said. Soft, defeated, ugly. "The marriage?" I asked. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. Silence wrapped around the room, thick and suffocating. I reached for my phone again. His head snapped up. "No," he said. "You can't call the police." "Not yet." "You tried to steal my phone 30 seconds ago," I said. "And now you're giving strategy advice." "It's not advice," he said. "It's survival." The door clicked. A soft, small sound, barely audible. We both turned. Lydia stood in the doorway. Her hair was still pinned from work, her bag slung over one shoulder, her face pale, her eyes wide. She must have heard enough to paint her own nightmare. "Mom," she whispered, "are you two fighting?" Her eyes shifted to Alex, then back to me. "Mom," she said again. Her voice cracked. "You looked at my wedding photos." Alex stood quickly, too quickly. The guilt on his face was unmistakable. "Lydia, let me explain," he said. "It's not what you think." She stepped back, shaking. "Why are you sweating?" she asked him. "Why is your voice shaking? What is happening?" I opened my mouth. To tell her the truth, to protect her, to break the spell she didn't know she was living under. But she spoke first, her voice trembling. "Mom," she whispered, "please tell me you didn't find something." Her hand tightened on her bag. Her breath stuttered. "Mom," she said, "please tell me nothing is wrong with my husband." Her knees buckled. I rushed forward. Alex reached too, but Lydia stepped away from him. A full step, instinctive, fearful. Her eyes filled with tears. "Mom," she whispered, "please tell me you didn't see something in those photos." I drew in a breath. A tight pain spread across my chest. My heart pounded as if it were about to burst. I opened my mouth to answer. Lydia stared at me like the floor had just opened beneath her feet. Her hand still gripped the strap of her bag. "Mom," she whispered, "please answer me. Did you see something in the wedding photos? Alex moved first. Lydia, sit down, he said. His voice tried to sound calm. It failed. This is all a misunderstanding. Your mom is overreacting. She did not look at him. Her eyes stayed locked on mine. Mom, she repeated. Tell me the truth. I swallowed. My throat felt dry, like I had swallowed sand. Yes, I said. My voice came out quiet but clear. I saw something. Lydia flinched as if I had hit her. What she asked. Something like what Alex stepped between us, blocking her view of me. She is twisting things, he said. She talked to that photographer. She is making up stories from reflections. Move, I said. He did not. Alex, I said again, move. Now. There was something in my tone that reached him. He stepped aside, jaw tight, eyes burning into me. I pointed to the couch. Lydia, I said, sit down. You deserve the whole picture, not his edited version. She sat slowly like her knees might give out. Alex remained standing, hovering. If you stay, I told him, you listen. You do not talk, not until I finish. You have no right, he began. I have every right, I said. This is my house. This is my daughter. Sit down or get out. For a moment, I thought he would challenge me. Then he sat on the far chair, arms crossed tight. I took a breath. I had testified in courtrooms. I had deposed executives. This felt harder. Lydia, I said. Do you remember the photographer Carol Benson? She nodded. She was kind, Lydia said. She cried when I showed her my bouquet. She called me, I said, 1 month after the wedding. Her voice was shaking. I walked her through it. The call at 7:14 in the morning, the studio, Carol's pale face, the laptop on the small table. She zoomed into the corner of a photo, I said. There was a reflection on the glass door. Lydia's fingers twisted together in her lap. In that reflection, I continued, I saw Alex, your husband, standing too close to a woman in a red dress. Lydia glanced at him, then looked away. Maybe it was just a friend, she said weakly. Maybe she leaned in for a second. Angles can lie. I thought that too, I said, for about 4 seconds. I described the metadata, the timestamps, the coordinates, the fact that the photo was taken 2 hours before the ceremony, and the ring, I said softly, a wedding ring on her left hand. Lydia covered her mouth. You paid someone, Alex snapped. You paid some nerd to hack those files. I turned to him. I paid a forensic imaging specialist, I said, $14,500 to recover every pixel and verify every timestamp. I shifted my gaze back to Lydia. Yes, I said. It cost me $14,500. That detail in the corner cost me that much. It was worth it. Tears overflowed in Lydia's eyes. Mom, she said, you spent that much without telling me I spent it to know what you were really standing in, I said. Not the fairy tale you thought you had. Her tears turned sharper. Anger mixed with pain. You should have told me, she cried. You should have come to me first, not investigate me behind my back. I did not investigate you, I said. I investigated the man who married you. Same thing, she shouted. He is my husband, my life. You went behind me. The words hit like stones. I let them. She had a right to feel them. Lydia, I said softly, I am not trying to save you. She stared at me shocked. What I am not trying to swoop in and rescue you, I said. I am trying to help you see clearly. I pointed toward the window. When there is smoke in a room, you do not save someone by dragging them blind, I said. You open their eyes and show them the fire. Lydia shook her head. Makeup streaks marked her cheeks. Keep going, she whispered. If you started it, finish it. Who is that woman? I told her about Hannah Reed, about Texas, about the financial fraud case she had touched, about how Hannah's name appeared on an old file I once reviewed. The same name I said, same face, same pattern. I told her about the transfer, the $28,000 from Alex's account to Hannah, the date that matched the wedding week. Show me, Lydia said. Her voice trembled, but it carried steel. I pulled up the image of the bank transfer. I placed the phone in her hand. Her eyes moved slowly over the screen. Account numbers, beneficiary, amount, date. "You have no context," Alex said quickly. She was in trouble. I was helping a friend. "By sending almost $30,000, I asked, 2 days after your wedding, to a woman with a history of fraud." Lydia lowered the phone. Her hands were shaking now. "You told me we could not afford a honeymoon," she whispered. "You said we needed to be careful. You said the wedding wiped out our savings." Her eyes filled again. She looked at Alex like he was a stranger who had stolen her husband's face. "How long?" she asked him. "How long have you been lying to me?" He stood up, too fast. The chair scraped the floor. "You are both overreacting," he said. "You do not understand how any of this works." "Then explain it," she said. "Explain why the FBI is looking at you." The color drained from his face. "Marcus called me," I said quietly. "There is an active federal investigation, financial crimes, money laundering." Lydia turned back to me. "What?" Her voice broke on the single word. "Is that true?" she asked Alex. "Tell me they are wrong, please." He did not answer. Silence said enough. Lydia pressed her palms to her eyes. Her shoulders shook, not dramatic sobs, just deep, broken tremors. My phone started to ring. The sound sliced through the heavy air. "Marcus." I almost silenced it. Then I saw the way Lydia was sinking. The room needed one human sound that was not pain. I answered and hit speaker. "Sam," Marcus said. "I just talked to the feds. Quick update." I glanced at Alex. He glared at the phone like it had teeth. "Marcus," I said. "Lydia is here. So is Alex." There was a short pause on his end. Then his tone shifted. A thread of dry humor slipped in. "Well then," he said. "Hi, Lydia. I am the cop who owes your mom about 12 coffees." Lydia let out an accidental snort through her tears. She covered her mouth, shocked. She had made a sound that was not a sob. Marcus continued. "And if your charming husband decides to sprint for the state line, he said, 'Tell your mom to call me first.' I like a good chase." A tiny laugh escaped Lydia, half sob, half giggle. It was small, fragile, but real. Alex swore under his breath and walked toward the door. "I am not staying for this," he snapped. "This is insane. Do not leave town," Marcus said through the speaker. His tone was suddenly all business. "The people watching you do not find that funny." Alex froze for a second. Then he grabbed his keys and left anyway. The door slammed behind him. Silence settled again. Heavier this time, but sharper too, like the air after a storm. "Marcus," I said gently, "I will call you later." "Okay," he replied. "Sam, one thing. Whatever happens, document everything. Dates, words, threats, paper beats memory." He hung up. Lydia stared at the closed door. Then she looked at me. Her face looked older than it had that morning. "Mom," she said. Her voice was small. I moved closer and sat beside her. I did not touch her yet. I waited. She wiped her cheeks with the back of her hand. "I am so mad at you," she said, "and I am so grateful, and I hate that both are true." "That is what adulthood feels like most days," I said softly, "holding two truths that do not like each other." Her lips twitched, almost a smile, then fell again. She stared at her hands for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely there. "Mom," she whispered, "there is something I have not told you." My stomach tightened. She drew in a shaky breath. "Mom," she said again, "I think I might be pregnant. I think I might be pregnant." Those words did not just land, they detonated, right there in my living room. For a moment, everything in me stopped. Breath, thought, even anger. Lydia stared at her hands. Her thumbs rubbed the same spot on her skin, back and forth, back and forth. "How late?" I asked quietly. 2 weeks, she said, maybe 3. I stopped counting when the fighting started. She laughed once, short and broken. "Funny," she added. Some women dream about this moment. I feel like I am standing on a cliff. I moved closer. This time, I did touch her. I put my hand over hers. "Have you taken a test?" I asked. "Not yet," she said. I kept telling myself I was imagining it, wishful thinking, or maybe fear thinking. The front door was still closed. Alex's car was gone. His absence sat like an empty chair at our conversation. "Lydia," I said, "whatever that test says, one thing will not change." She looked up at me. Her eyes were red but clear. "You are not going to walk through this alone," I said. "Not again. Not on my watch." She nodded slowly. Tears slid down, but her shoulders eased just a little. My phone rang again. Marcus. The timing felt almost scripted. "Answer it," Lydia whispered. "If it is about him, I want to know." I put the call on speaker and set the phone on the coffee table. "Marcus," I said. "We heard enough to know things are ugly." His voice came through serious this time. No jokes. No soft landing. "Sam," he said, "I need you and Lydia to come to the station." My stomach tightened. Why, I asked. "Because we just picked up someone," he said. "And what she is saying changes everything." Lydia swallowed hard. "Is it about Alex?" she asked. "Yes," Marcus said. "And about the money. And about that woman in the red dress." "Hannah," I said. He exhaled. "She is in custody," he said. "Fraud. Wire transfers. Conspiracy. She is scared enough to start talking." I looked at Lydia. Her face had gone very still. "So now she talks," Lydia whispered. "Now that there is nothing left to save." "Come down here," Marcus said. "I cannot promise you will like what you hear, but you need to hear it anyway." He gave me a time. 30 minutes. Short enough that we could not overthink. Lydia stood. "I am going with you," she said. "Do not try to protect me from this." "I stopped trying to protect you," I said gently. "I am trying to stand next to you now." On the drive to the station, the city looked different. Same streets, same traffic, different weight. Lydia stared out the window. One hand rested on her stomach without her noticing. "Mom," she said quietly, "if I am pregnant and if everything they say about him is true, what does that make me?" "A woman who trusted," I said, "and got betrayed. Not a criminal. Not a fool." She nodded, but she did not believe me. Not yet. The police station smelled like coffee and old paper, harsh lights, voices behind closed doors, people moving with tired urgency. Marcus met us in the lobby. He looked more worn than the last time I saw him, eyes shadowed, jaw grim. "Lydia," he said softly. He shook her hand like she was not just a victim, but also an adult. I appreciated that. "I am sorry you are here for this," he added, "but I am glad you came." He led us down a corridor, past bulletin boards, a cork wall covered in notices and faces. "Where is Alex?" Lydia asked. "Not here," Marcus said. "Yet." He did not elaborate. He did not need to. He stopped outside a small observation room. There was a single pane of glass, a metal table inside, 3 chairs. On the far side of the glass sat a woman in a wrinkled blouse and smeared lipstick. Her red dress had been replaced by jail gray. Hannah Reed. Up close, she looked older than in the wedding photo, fine lines at the mouth, eyes that had seen too many late nights and bad decisions. Her hands were cuffed in front of her. She kept tapping one fingertip on the table. Anxious rhythm. Too fast. "That is her," Lydia whispered. "The woman in the reflection." "Yes," I said. "The woman who took $28,000 from your husband." Lydia flinched at the phrase. "Your husband. Is she dangerous?" she asked. "No," Marcus said. "Just desperate. Desperate people can be explosive. But she is contained." "Why are we here?" I asked. "Is this some kind of show and tell?" Marcus shook his head. "She has a public defender with her," he said. "She is considering a cooperation deal. Your names came up." I felt Lydia stiffen beside me. "What did she say about me?" Lydia asked. "Not yet," Marcus said, "but she asked to see you both when she heard your mother's name." He turned to me. She knows who you are, Sam. She remembers your testimony in the Texas case. That made my skin crawl. Being remembered by a con artist is not a compliment. You do not have to agree, Marcus added. This is your choice. We can keep you behind the glass. I looked at Lydia. This is your life, I said. Your call. She swallowed hard. If there are answers in there, she said, I want to hear them from her mouth. Not in a report. Marcus nodded. I will be in the corner, he said. No one touches you. You can walk out any second. He opened the door to the interview room. The sound changed. Fluorescent lights buzzed louder. Air felt drier. The public defender sat at the far end of the table. Young. Tired. Carrying too many cases and not enough sleep. Hannah looked up as we entered. Her gaze moved from me to Lydia. Her lips curved into something that was not quite a smile. So this is the daughter, she said. Her voice was rough and low. Pretty. He has good taste. Lydia's fingers curled at her sides. Hannah, I said, your lawyer knows we are here. The public defender nodded. She believes talking to you may help her case, he said. If she gives credible information, the prosecutor will listen. So this is a transaction, I said. Just another deal. Hannah shrugged as much as the cuffs allowed. Everything is a deal, she said. Some of us are just more honest about it. She leaned back in her chair. Her eyes settled on me. You're smarter than I thought, she said in a thick southern drawl. You looked at the corner of the frame. Most parents only stare at the bride. Lydia let out a shaky breath. I did stare at the bride, I said, for months. Then I realized someone had to watch the edges, too. Hannah chuckled. It was not a pleasant sound. The edges are where the real story lives, she said. That is what Alex always said. Lydia flinched at his name. Why are you doing this? Lydia asked. Her voice trembled, but she did not look away. Why talk now? Because Hannah said the men above us will not bleed for us. They will throw us under the bus and drive away. She tilted her head. And I do not like being roadkill. Marcus stepped closer to the wall. His presence pressed into the room like a reminder. You said Alex is not just a small player, he prompted. You said he organized certain transfers. Hannah's eyes glittered. I said many things, she replied. Depends which ones you write down. Her gaze returned to Lydia. He told you he was in car sales, right? She asked. Nice lie. Clean. Boring. No one asks follow-up questions about leases. Lydia's voice was barely there. What did he do? She whispered. He moved money, Hannah said. Quietly. Smartly. Using shells and fake invoices and weddings that brought in cash. Her eyes flicked to me. Yours was a good one. 60, maybe 70 grand in gifts. Perfect pipeline. Lydia covered her mouth. Her shoulders shook. She fought to keep control. I stepped half a foot closer to her, not touching, just anchoring. Who gave the orders? Marcus asked. Name, dates, accounts. Hannah looked bored. You know the name, she said. That is why they dragged me in here in gray instead of red. She tapped one cuff against the table. Clink, clink, clink. Then she smiled at Lydia. Soft, almost pitying. You want the truth, Hannah asked. Or the version that lets you sleep, truth, Lydia whispered. Her eyes shone with tears she refused to let fall. Hannah inhaled slowly. Then she spoke. 5 words. Precise, cruel, surgical. Alex never loved your daughter. The room tilted for Lydia. I saw it in her knees, in her hands slapping the table to keep from falling, and I felt something inside me tear in half. The words hung in the air like smoke. Alex never loved your daughter. Lydia stared at Hannah. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. I saw the moment something shattered inside her, not her strength, her illusion. Enough, Marcus said. His voice was flat professional. We are done here for now. He signaled to the officer at the door. The public defender gathered his files with shaking hands. Hannah leaned back in her chair. Her cuffs clinked against the table. This helps my deal, she said. Do not forget that. I will not, Marcus replied. But understand something. You are not the one I care about. His eyes flicked to Lydia. then to me. We stepped into the hallway. The door clicked shut behind us. Lydia pressed her back against the wall. Her knees bent slightly. I stepped in front of her before she slid down. "Breathe," I whispered. "In, out. Right here, with me." Her hands clutched my forearms. Her grip was surprisingly strong. "She is lying," Lydia said. "Right, Mom. She has to be lying." I thought about the photos, the transfers, the joint account, the metadata that never changed its story. "No," I said softly. "She is cruel, but she is not lying about that." A single tear slipped down Lydia's cheek. She wiped it away with the back of her hand. No drama, no scream. "That is what hurts the most," she said. "He never loved me, but he used the words so easily." Marcus cleared his throat gently. "Sam," he said, "we have enough now. The photos, the transfers, Hannah's statement, her cooperation agreement." He held up a folder. "I can get a warrant for Alex," he said. "Fraud, conspiracy, maybe more depending on the accounts." "Will he run?" I asked. "He might try," Marcus said, "but he will not get far." Lydia straightened. Her voice came out quiet but steady. "Where is he now?" she asked. "At your house," Marcus said. "Patrol saw his car outside an hour ago." Lydia nodded once. "I want to be there," she said, "when you tell him it is over." Marcus studied her face. "You understand this is not entertainment," he said. "This is an arrest. It can get messy." "I am not going for entertainment," she answered. "I am going for closure." He glanced at me. "She is her mother's daughter," he muttered. Then he sighed. "Fine," he said. "You both come. But you stay behind me. No hero moves." The drive back to Lydia's house felt shorter than usual, maybe because the destination was different now. Not home. Crime scene. The sun was dropping lower. Shadows stretched across the street like warning lines. Alex's car sat in the driveway, perfectly washed, perfectly staged, like everything else about him. Marcus parked behind it. Another unmarked car pulled up across the street. 2 officers stepped out. "Back up," Marcus said, "just in case Romeo decides to turn this into a chase scene." We walked up the path. Marcus motioned for us to stay slightly behind. He knocked once, firm, authoritative. Alex opened the door with his usual polished smile. When he saw me, the smile faltered. When he saw Marcus's badge, it died completely. "Sam," he said. "Lydia, what is this?" "This," Marcus said, "is a formal visit. May we come in?" Alex hesitated. Then he stepped back. The living room looked the same. Long couch, wedding photo on the wall, our money framed above someone else's lies. Marcus stood near the coffee table. Alex stayed close to the hallway. His eyes darted between the front door and the back. "That fidgeting is not subtle," I said. "He always taps his thumb when he is planning something." Lydia almost smiled. "Almost," Mr. Carter, Marcus said. "Based on new evidence, I need you to come with me downtown." Evidence of what Alex snapped. "All we did was have a wedding that went over budget." "Wire fraud," Marcus said. "Money laundering, conspiracy, intent to defraud. Do you want the full list now or later?" Alex laughed. The sound was high and wrong. "You have no case," he said. "A few photos and a bitter woman in a gray jumpsuit. Good luck with that." "We have more than that," Marcus replied. "Accounts, timestamps, statements under penalty of perjury, and that nice $28,000 transfer." Alex's jaw tightened. "That was a business transaction," he said. "Has nothing to do with Lydia or her family." "That is the interesting part," Marcus said. "The way your business always seems to intersect with women's bank accounts." Alex's gaze flicked to Lydia. "Lydia," he said, "you are not really buying this, are you? You know I love you." Lydia lifted her chin. Her hands were no longer shaking. "I heard everything at the station," she said. "Every word Hannah said, every account detail, every lie." Alex stepped toward her. "She is just trying to save herself," he said. "You know how criminals are." Lydia took a small step back, then another, not from fear, from clarity. "She called you smart," Lydia said. She said you designed the system, that you used our wedding as a pipeline. He opened his mouth, closed it. Marcus reached into his pocket. Alex Carter, he said. You are under arrest. You can come quietly, or we can add resisting. Alex's eyes flashed. He looked at the door leading to the backyard, then at the officers near the front. For one beat, everything went still. Then he bolted. He shot past the hallway and toward the back door. Marcus cursed under his breath and took off after him. Stay here, he shouted over his shoulder. I grabbed Lydia's wrist and pulled her toward the wall. We heard the back door slam, then shoes pounding across the deck. From the window, I saw Alex sprint toward the fence. He tried to vault it like some action hero. His foot caught on the top board. He flipped sideways and crashed into the neighbor's gravel. The sound was ugly and satisfyingly real. Marcus reached the fence, swung himself over with less drama. He hit the ground running and closed the distance fast. Do not move, he barked. Alex tried to scramble up. Marcus took him down with a clean shoulder pin. Not brutal, not theatrical, just efficient. The other officers arrived seconds later. Cuffs clicked around Alex's wrists. Lydia watched from the window. Her face was pale, but her eyes did not look away. That is the man I almost built a life with, she whispered. The man I almost had a child with. You did not fail, I said. He did. Every step of the way, he chose this. One of the officers walked Alex past the kitchen window. His hair was full of dust. His perfect shirt was torn at the shoulder. For the first time, he looked small. He locked eyes with me through the glass. There was no charm left, only hatred and something that looked a lot like fear. I held his gaze. Then I turned away. That was my quiet revenge. No shouting, no dramatic speech, just refusal to give him my attention. Later that evening, we sat at my dining table. The same laptop, different kind of work. I read through my statement for the final time. Dates, amounts, locations, everything precise. Marcus sat across from me, his tie loosened, his eyes tired but satisfied. This will hold, he said. The prosecutor is very happy with you, Sam. I am not doing this for the prosecutor, I replied. I am doing it for my daughter, and for my husband, and a little bit for me. He smiled. That is allowed, he said. I signed with a steady hand. Then I closed the laptop. At that exact moment, music floated in from the living room. Piano notes, soft strings, autumn letter. I had forgotten it was still in my playlist. Lydia must have hit play by accident, or maybe not. The melody moved through the house like a gentle tide, warm, melancholy, but less sharp than before. That song again, Marcus said. He tilted his head, listening. It used to be a warning, I said. Now it sounds like a bandage. He laughed softly. You and your metaphors, he said. Good thing you chose forensics and not poetry. Lydia appeared in the doorway. She carried 3 mugs of tea. For the record, she said I like her metaphors. She set a mug in front of Marcus. To the man who tackled my husband into a gravel pit, she said. Thank you. Ex-husband, Marcus corrected gently. Soon enough. Lydia took a breath and nodded. Yes, she said. Ex-husband. Her shoulders dropped a fraction. The word had power, but not the kind that hurt. We drank tea in companionable silence for a few minutes. The song played on. The house felt different, lighter. Eventually, Marcus checked his watch and stood. I need to head back, he said. Paperwork never sleeps. He walked with me to the front door, stopped with his hand on the knob. Sam, he said quietly. There's one more thing. I felt the air shift again. Of course there is, I said. What now? Hannah talked more after you left, he said. She gave us details on the money, the bigger pipeline. I folded my arms and I asked. He met my eyes. His expression was careful. She named a source, he said, someone feeding information into the network. He hesitated, just long enough to scare me. Sam, he said, the person she named is someone you know. The next few days moved in slow circles. Lawyers, statements, confirmations, a paper trail long enough to wrap around the block. But in the middle of that storm, one detail stood out. The familiar man in the third image. Marcus called me early Tuesday morning. His voice carried the tone of a man who had been awake for 20 hours straight. "Sam," he said, "we got an ID. You may want to sit for this." "I am standing," I said. "Tell me anyway." "The man is Leonard Price," he said. "Financial manager. Used to work for your late husband." My breath froze. Only for a second, but enough to sting my ribs. "Leonard was fired," Marcus added. 12 years ago. There were discrepancies in several files. Your husband pushed for termination. I remembered the long nights, the quiet anger in my husband's face, the disappointment of being betrayed by someone he trusted, but I never knew the details beneath that layer. "We ran his phone," Marcus said. "He contacted Alex last year 3 times. Business calls, unregistered accounts, private payments in cash. The puzzle pieces clicked together with a sickening neatness. So Alex learned from him," I said, "and Leonard tied him to the larger network." "Exactly," Marcus said. "He is one of the connectors." That explained everything. The coordinated transfers, the timing, the confidence Alex carried like a shield. Lydia sat across from me during the call. She hugged her knees on the couch, her eyes swollen from days of crying. "Does this mean," she asked, "that he knew what he was doing from the start?" "Yes," I said. "He did not fall into this. He walked into it." She lowered her head. I reached over and held her hand. Her fingers tightened around mine. It was the first time she let me hold her since the truth broke open. We did not return to her old house, not even once. Marcus arranged with officers to collect her things. She did not want to see Alex again. She did not need to. Healing requires distance, not explanations. We moved into a small rental near the beach, a little blue house with chipped paint and a porch that creaked when you breathed on it. But the air was clean, and the ocean sat like a promise at the end of the street. Lydia stood in the living room the first night. She looked around slowly, her eyes soft. "It feels safe," she whispered. "For the first time in months." I ran my hand over her hair. "You are safe," I said. "Whatever comes next, you will be safe." She rested her head on my shoulder, the first true peace I had seen in her since the wedding day. 2 days later, Carol Benson knocked on our door. Her arms carried a flat cardboard envelope. "I know this seems strange," she said, "but I thought you deserved the version of the wedding that was real." She handed me a photo, a re-edited version. Bright, soft, free from shadows and deceit. Lydia stared at it for a long time, not crying, not smiling, just seeing it for what it was. A moment she lived in good faith. "Thank you," she whispered. Carol squeezed her hand gently. "People lie," Carol said, "but cameras tell the truth." Before she left, she turned to me and winked. "You have good instincts, Sam. Better than most detectives I know." I laughed. It felt good to laugh without pain stuck under it. Later that afternoon, Marcus came by. He wore jeans instead of his uniform. It made him look almost human. He dropped into the old porch chair with a dramatic groan. "Nice place," he said. "Smells like sea salt and freedom." "It smells like old wood and mildew," I said. "Same thing," he replied. He leaned back, hands behind his head. So he asked, "Any suspicious shadows on the walls? Mysterious reflections? Men with bad haircuts hiding behind bushes?" I raised an eyebrow. "Why?" "Did you leave anyone on surveillance?" "Maybe," he said. "Or maybe I just want to know if you have spotted anything strange before I do." I shook my head. "No more strange things," I said. "Just my life starting again." He smiled, the kind that reached his eyes. "Good," he said. "You deserve a quiet chapter." "I will take a quiet sentence," I replied. "Then we build from there." That night, Lydia made tea while I stood on the porch. The air felt cool. The waves broke in steady lines, the same pattern I remembered from my childhood trips to the ocean. A slow peace settled into my bones, not loud, not triumphant, just steady. The song "Autumn Letter" drifted from the radio inside the house. Soft piano notes, gentle strings, the same melody that played the day I first suspected something was wrong. Full circle, closed loop. I let it wash over me, warm, bittersweet, healing. I stepped closer to the railing. Salt air touched my lips. My heart steadied. In that moment, I finally understood. A single detail ruined our illusion. A single detail revealed the truth. A single detail saved my daughter and me. I looked out at the dark horizon and spoke in a calm voice, a voice rebuilt from fractures. One small detail can destroy a life, I said, but it can also save it. The ocean breathed in, then out, and for the first time in a long time, so did I. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this story. If you are still here, it means something in Sam's journey spoke to you. Maybe it was the courage to face the truth. Maybe it was the strength to start again. Or maybe it was the reminder that quiet justice always finds its way. If this story resonated with you, take a moment to breathe. Take a moment to remember that healing is possible at any age, and that you deserve honesty, respect, and peace in your own life. Before you go check the pinned comment below, I left a question for you there. I truly want to know where you are listening from and what part of the story touched your heart the most. Your voice matters. Your story matters. And this channel exists because people like you believe in second chances, quiet strength, and emotional truth. Make sure to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next story. Thank you for being here. I will see you in the next chapter.